This is Gachiakuta's biggest threat and one of the most terrifying new gen manga villains. He eats living things for his powers, creates these Frankenstein monsters for harsh experiments, and everything points to the fact that he's just trying to end a world. Who is he? This unhinged villain is known as Zodyl Typhon, and he first appears in chapter 24 of the manga. The raiders returning to their boss view Zodil staring into some light, mumbling to himself about the Watchmen series before stating Rudo's name, all before you see his jacket having the same insignia as Rudo's gloves. He too possesses a part of the Watchmen series, a series of objects that are the oldest and most powerful in Gachiakuta. While a short 2-page introduction, it does a great job creating suspension and uneasiness for this character. His dingy appearance, surrounded by heaps of random stuff, feels chaotic. This, accompanied by his bloodshot eyes and ramblings, makes Zodil sound, well, crazy. Yet all of this is before the reveal he has part of the Watchmen series, something only Rudo has had up to now. It's all to say that this guy is a little bit strange, crazy, and seriously important. But even before this odd appearance, he's been mentioned many times. If we step back a few chapters, Jabber, after being beaten, stated he needed to bring Rudo back, but backs down upon hearing about Zodil having a huge smile. He then notes Rudo's Watchmen gloves. Zodil will love to hear about them. And from these two pieces of information alone, we can understand that Zodil is interested in Rudo because his gloves. They're part of the same series of objects as his coat. We next see Zodil as the raiders become more active, him deciding to finally make his move. And yeah, he's locked in. Zodil has that immovable object type of vibe. Like, nothing's gonna be able to touch him, he's just that strong. In the next chapter, Rudo is venting to some random person about his stresses. The person putting together it's the raiders bothering him, before mentioning that they're losing their minds searching for something right now. Then, all of a sudden he breaks character, and brings out the Watchmen boots. The raiders are looking for a match to these. Rudo looks over and sees Zodil underneath the hood. He puts his hand on Rudo. He's the one searching for the match. He's the raiders' new boss. Without even giving him a second to be surprised, he tells Rudo to never miss a weather report. That way he can be prepared for when the storm hits. And while his words somewhat illustrate that this is a random encounter, this was masterfully planned. When the cleaners jump at him, they're all teleported to a dark tunnel, and instantly put against each other in a 5v5, raiders versus cleaners. Though we know Zodil is interested in Rudo, and obviously he set this up so that he's able to speak to him. He flushes the tunnel to send everyone away except Rudo, and since they're now alone, he poses the question, how would you like to take down the spear with me? Rudo envisions the destruction of the spear, the strange sky island dividing the people of the ground and spearites, the place Rudo himself comes from. Zodil can tell Rudo is envisioning it in his head, reading him to push the subject further. Zodil states he hasn't been to the spear, but wants it gone, and he doesn't care what he's taking down. All that matters is that it goes down. Rudo lashes out as Zodil mentions his rage, but is quickly shut up and told to listen. He tells Rudo to stay on topic. They will have a proper dialogue. Just listen. His words lock Rudo up. He feels like he's in chains, held captive by Zodil's dark, overpowering presence. I want to note how Zodil is drawn in a specific way that almost feels like he deconstructs the manga's art style for himself. Like his image, when Zodil speaks, the manga gets darker, more rigid, and super rough to make us feel his words even more. Out of everything, even the text boxes are different. They're more profound, as to tell us that his words are weightier and heavier than the others. Of course, Rudo would feel captive by them. It's all to make Zodil scarier and create the image of this powerful, demanding, and very manipulative sounding leader. He's terrifying in every way now that we're actually face to face with him, and he knows it, clearly using it as an advantage to sway the conversation with Rudo his way. Zodil questions why Rudo thinks the cleaners will help him get to the spear. It's not their job. The only reason Rudo is kept around them is because it's convenient. His strength helps. He then steps to Rudo, towering over him. Rudo can't be happy with this status quo, can he? The current game of friends isn't what he wants, right? Yet again, just very manipulative sounding. He shuts Rudo up, then speaks on and on. Sure, he might pose this all as questions, but it's like he's telling Rudo what to believe instead of it actually being a question. Zodil then goes on to give a speech, describing living creatures as strange, fascinating things. They shape and adapt to their environment. He explains that on the ground you can find waste that has never been documented. It comes from the spear, and you can say that same exact thing about people. If where people live affects their humanness, Zodil coming from the ground and Rudo from the spear, then why does Rudo have the same eyes as him? Zodil continues on trying to tell Rudo they're the same, that even if they're from different places, they're the same type of people. He's insistent on swaying Rudo for whatever his cause is. A cause that is definitely not bad. Like, come on guys, this guy wouldn't be evil, he wouldn't be up to something terrible, right? In response, Rudo lashes out. Why couldn't Zodil just meet him normally? He's going through all this just to recruit him? He states he wants to reach the spear for himself, for his own objectives. So basically, Zodil just needs to back off and stay out of it. Zodil looks down. Normal? He goes on to explain a group he was without a doubt brought up in. A group of people who worship the trash the spear rights would drop, calling it blessings from heaven. They would accept all, good or bad, as blessings, and force others to do the same. While it may sound bizarre to Rudo, Zodil states it was just common sense to the group, and if someone like Rudo was to fight this, they'd become a heretic. Ultimately, the backstory doesn't matter. It was an example to say that normal really isn't a thing. He explains common sense created by fanatics like the group can be a deadly poison. Their common sense based belief of the falling trash being a blessing can be very deadly. He states that despite it all, you'd never know who was suffering from this common sense poison without a catalyst. To remove the poison from someone, to make them see something is not normal, you need to snap them out of it. You need to shock their system. And yes, you're seeing that right. This dude just ate a bug. He is certainly crazy, yet this reaction, thinking that it's gross crazy, is very intentional. To most, eating a bug is a shock, but there is people who do that. Zodil in his speech here is trying to tell Rudo his normal, his feelings, might be a poison. Maybe in fact, Zodil's normal is right. In the same way the people who enjoy bugs might be right about them being tasty, maybe Zodil's plan to take down the spear is the right way. The shock he speaks of, him bringing Rudo for this, is him trying to be that shock. The shock Rudo needs to break his normal and switch sides. Yet him unveiling all this to Rudo basically says he's failed. And so, with that, it's time to go. Transported into another room, Zodil yet again looks down at Rudo as he stomps forward. This dude is, aura farming by the way. Remember how I said an immovable object? Yeah, these panels are the definition of that. He insults Rudo for running his mouth before even listening or thinking of what he was saying, wishing it was a cooler-headed person who fell from the sky. Yet he's now done with games. He won't even bother explaining his plan. He'll just show him. Zodil takes the Watchman boots and attaches them to some sort of core. The object taking to them as Zodil explains he was trying to create his own Watchman series. The series has been around forever and therefore has immeasurable amounts of energy. And while he couldn't replicate that energy, he created something else entirely. Like a mad scientist, Zodil has created a monstrous trash beast powered by a vital instrument. And he states they'll use this very beast to ride to the spear. Listening to Zodil speak, Rudo questions the importance of his gloves. And noticing, Zodil takes to the conversation, seeing it as another chance to sway Rudo. The Watchmen series hold enough power to drive one mad. Yet at one point in time, there was a single person who wore the entire series. Why is it that he and Rudo can use them? Zodil's explanation is that it's because they've left something important behind. In simplest terms, it's because they're broken people. But like a true villain, Zodil sees this as a power. Why should being broken discourage him if it allows him to use this power? And so he asks, imagine what would happen if a single person used all of the objects in the series. Would it be enough to reach the spear? Zodil needed to know. He had to experiment. He tried to create fakes but failed. Yet failure doesn't mean it's a waste. He learned he could use the object as a core to create the imitation titan of a trash beast. Everything he had done is for these experiments. Guiding and sending Rudo and his friends here was for this very purpose. One extreme mad scientist experiment to get to the spear. Everything in his plans are coming together. A special trash storm comes once every 6 years. And now he'll take his Frankenstein monster upon that storm to bring down the spear. He gives Rudo one final chance. Follow him and he's guaranteed to make it to the spear. By comparison, what are his allies offering him? Saying, if you have a goal you want to accomplish, if you have any convictions, then trash must be disposed of. In the silence, Rudo reaches out. He had named his trashy gloves 3R, their most prized possession. To him, nothing in the world is waste. Even speaking to Zodil was important. It told Rudo that he has friends who give a problem child like him a real home. Sure, he wants to make it to the spear still, but now that's not enough. He'll do so with everyone alive and having fun. Zodil's coat transforms into a pitch black shell, flying him forward at Mach speeds towards Rudo. As the substance takes him over, he tells Rudo he'll regret this. And as he criticizes Rudo for calling out to his friends, they appear. Zodil looks back as Rudo says his experiment is over. Zodil simply replying that it indeed is. Soon he'll have his long-awaited results. Yeah, despite everything he's been saying, getting to the spear hasn't been Zodil's main intention this entire time. As while the cleaners work on bringing down this huge trash beast from the inside, Zodil just spectates. He's been intending to use this battle as a way to test his soldiers from the very beginning. When one is brought down, he simply tells them to come back. He's been evaluated. Then when yet another shows up, ready to sacrifice their whole self for his mission, he stares on with a blank expression, simply saying interesting. He walks towards Rudo. This is what it looks like when someone gives up what they care about. He will come collect this piece of the Watchmen series. And with that, he's gone through the portal, disappearing completely. To be a true testament of what Zodil's manipulation can do, the woman indeed sacrifices her life to buy him time. And with their death, we see a backstory. In this backstory, while short, we see how they met, Zodil complimenting her hair before assumingly recruiting her. He later refers to this incident as an experimental seed he had planted, blooming beautifully. And this says it all. It's just some sick manipulative shit. He doesn't care about people one bit, just about how he can use them and what he can transform them into. But in the trash beast, the cleaners save themselves before it's destroyed, unable to cross through the spear's border. Zodil watches this all from afar as he's asked why he thought it would even work. Him stating the fake Watchman object he made had the power of protection. While the man assumes the experiment to be a failure, Zodil sees otherwise. It was a success. He had met Rudo, tested his theory about the spear's border, was able to test and evaluate his team, and even learn about another piece of the Watchmen series. Zodil never intended to cross the border. In fact, he had assumed it wouldn't work. And while he wasn't able to recruit Rudo to get his hands on another piece of the series, he has now instilled enough importance in the objects that the cleaners will guard them for him. It's super freaky. While it seems like a huge failure, when he explains it this way and explains all his side objectives in this big experiment, it does sound like a pretty big success. But I still think it's utterly terrifying that he planned every single bit of this out. He's clearly very obsessed about the spear, wanting to bring it down for what seems like no reason. But we do kind of have an idea why. From his small speech about those who worship the trash the spear people dropped, we can assume he was one of them, though somehow got a shock to his system that led him away. The use of the word heretics is interesting too. Really makes you wonder if there's a more horrific tale there. Definitely is. Though he initially had really only brought that up to try and rope Rudo into his cause, hoping to control him and his Watchman gloves. It's their power that he's after. All in all, this was our first big look into Zodil, and we can instantly see that he's a terrifyingly smart manipulative mind that'll pretty much do anything to get his objectives. He treats people like pawns, manipulating them from the beginning for his purposes. And if he's willing to create these monstrous beasts for an experiment, who's to say what he'll do next? Not only is Zodil scary in look and demeanor, demanding the pages like bend to his will, but his actions suggest that we should be very careful of him. We've only just kicked open the door and everything points to the fact that he's an unhinged monster. But we still have a few more Zodil moments to go over. Our next clash with Zodil is when him and Rudo both seek out the information broker. And yes, he's eating a raven. Just raw. Do people even eat birds like that? It's breakfast for him. Maybe? He's a strange guy. Upon meeting Rudo again, Zodil is nothing short of scary. And yet again, I have to say nobody is touching him. Especially now that he's tested his allies and is very confident in just sitting back. He allows them to do the work while he waits to see where the information broker brings them. And as Rudo is brought before a box from his ancestor, Zodil waits out of sight in the trees for the perfect moment. While you'd be right to assume he's planning to take the box, see whatever is inside, in reality, Zodil's mind has been on the broker the entire time, as this is the perfect moment for Momoa to touch him. With this, using her powers, she's able to see every single memory of his, taking all the information he's ever collected, in turn likely telling Zodil everything he'll ever need to know. And so he springs into action to guard her. Vital instrument, Mishra. Like before, his coat comes to life as he activates its power, covering his face in strange marks as he summons spikes to attack everyone. His coat now resembles an odd pair of wings, and as he seems ready to push forward with even more power, Momoa falls to the ground. The information broker has been around for so long and has somehow seen so many things that she can't view it all, and he states it'll likely be a month before her eyes even open. This means certain defeat for Zodil. And so, faced with it, what will he do? Well, our strange, interesting villain eats a sandwich. His coat transforms in response. With the sandwich all down the hatch, his pointy wings become full-fledged raven wings. While this gives the impression he has a ton of different powers, the broker who knows all asks if what he eats reflects the shape. But Zodil quickly gets out of there, carrying Momoa as he states he'll beat Rudo into the ground next time. But yeah, I think we just figured it out. Not only was he shown eating a raven before having spiky black wings, but whatever was in that sandwich clearly changed his form. It's not confirmed yet, but I think it would be fair to say his coat reflects what he eats. You also gotta remember how he ate that cockroach before being surrounded by some shell thing way back. It sounds like a crazy stretch for a power, but it also makes sense considering Rudo's gloves transform what they touch, and they are in the same series after all. I think it's a fair assumption. Finally, our last current moment with Zodil is a short, small glimpse of what is certainly an intense backstory. He screams to be let go, that the trash isn't a blessing, to let his sister go, before we see him crying for his mother. We then see the moment he found the coat. If the world is about taking things no matter how hard you fight, he decided he'll do the taking. Covered in wounds, he stares forward as the current Zodil stares forward at Momoa. motionless as he watches her entrenched in a deep sleep. And that's all we got for now. At the moment, we don't know all that much about Zodil, and in all honesty, it might be a while before we learn more. Yet everything we do know crafts a villain bringing his own unique kind of terror. It's very apt to say that he commands the pages when he appears in the manga. He changes everything from the shading to even the word bubbles. I kept saying it, but Zodil's like an immovable object, making even the manga bend to his will. This, in combination with his dark experimentation, his non-stop manipulation, and his freaky bird-eating powers, make him a villain to be wary of. And don't even get me started on how he's trying to basically end a world, destroying the entire sphere. Zodil is far from the most advanced, deepest villain I've ever seen, but that doesn't make him bad. Far from it. In fact, he's actually a great example of making a simple trope very interesting. There's reasons why people will say there's beauty in simplicity. Zodil has the same goal of the main character Rudo, to reach the spear. But from there, everything's a polar opposite. While Rudo is willing to make friends and trust them, Zodil wants to crush everything in his way and use what he can. Rudo wants to learn about the world and his heritage, while Zodil seemingly wants to disregard his, talking about the trash-worshipping people and their common sense as poison. Just a few examples to say, Zodil and Rudo are different sides of the same coin. At least for the moment. Gachiakuta is a brand new series with tons of story to tell. There's no doubt that once we learn more about the world and Zodil himself, things will get deeper, and probably darker. For now though, we definitely gotta keep an eye on Zodil, especially what he eats. I bet his stomach hurts. But let me know, what do you think about Zodyl Typhon, Gachiakuta's biggest threat? What do you think his story is gonna shape up to? Do you think he'll be a heartfelt villain by the end of the series? Or do you think he'll continue to be a scary threat Rudo will eventually have to put down? Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you want any more Gachiakuta videos.